Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Card Shark on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's an adventure game with an air of strategy. It's actually based around cheating in cards and setting up that perfect hand. But is this one up to the usual Devolver Digital quality or a rare miss? Well, hit subscribe, join us here on SwitchCorner for reviews and deals near daily, and let's get started. Here we find ourselves mastering deception to reach the top of 18th century French society. Opening the game, we'll be playing a young man, mute, largely kind of slaving away at a local bar. That is, at least until we meet a card shark by the name of Saint-Germain. He promises us riches in return for assisting him to rig a game in front of us. Things go wrong though, all hell breaks loose in the outbreak of offence. Your boss and mother of sorts is murdered. Now alone, with nowhere to go and the risk of arrest following the offence that did play out, we set out on this adventure with Saint-Germain. There's a hub world as well that we quickly uncover. The kind of core of that, a caravan of individuals. They will help you, they will train you. In return, we donate winnings and they're promising a revolution of sorts. It's got a surprisingly deep story, this one, that starts with an event of death but quickly finds us working towards the king's table, political intrigue, deceit, and a unique cast of characters. I loved the story honestly, and it kept me hooked throughout its 7 or so hours it took me to beat. It even packs multiple endings, but the one I did receive, I will warn here, a simple text breakdown of how offence played out, so I imagine that's going to be the same no matter the result. Gameplay then, it's extremely unique, placing you in front of a deck of cards but so often asking you to rig this deck to fall in your favour or that of your friends. Before we do get to that though, which is the kind of bulk of the experience, there's somewhat choice in where we go and exploration at these locations. The navigation is simple though once the game evolves past the opening moments and that murder. So this exploration, it comes in the form of a world map. You'll be choosing your next location and each marker provides a simple breakdown of what's to come. That's going to be the character you'll be meeting as well as the cash they have at hand, also how much it costs to buy a seat at the table. Once in these locations, some are automatic, some give you free control to move around on a 2D plane, and others there will be items in the environment to investigate. Some of the more advanced tricks even ask you to change rooms. For example, you might just all of a sudden start feeling sick, so you will stand up from the table. This will allow you to put the plan into action. You also finally have a pause menu that breaks down the game's 28 forms of deceit, as well as a hint system and difficulty options for the experience. The cards then, the core of this one, and mostly I really enjoyed it. It starts simple enough, think stealing a high card and getting it back into the mix, or simply placing cards in a dealing order, but by the end game, these are often complex, multi-step approaches that require you to flash back on everything you've learnt this far. I found the final trick actually particularly challenging. The game though, it tends to be a case of as you go from location to location, learn a new trick during that journey. It's constantly evolving as a system though, whether it's simply moving and shuffling cards or physically marking them with, let's say, a paintbrush or other item. Maybe you'll be bending a card to mark its placement to impact the cut. It sounds simple and honestly it often relies on almost quick time events, but it will actually require some brain power because you need to know exactly what you are doing. If you do find as well you get stuck, there is a skip option after a couple of attempts. So yeah, you'll be figuring out things like a deal order, reading the placement of cards off of specific markings, or handling the deal itself and shuffling things on the fly. Normally, if you're at a table of multiple people, you will see their images at the top of the screen so you can figure out where you are. It's just then made so much more intense as well thanks to what is a suspicion meter that is across the bottom of the screen. If this fills up, often it spells death in the latter game, or at least arrest in the earlier moments. You'll also control the amount of cash on the table too, and that can increase suspicion. In fact, I found benefit occasionally in even losing a hand, so there's that too. Really kind of think about what you are doing. Controls though mostly fine, relying on the face buttons and then motion on the left stick, but just occasionally I would find a trick just a tiny bit frustrating. There's one where you're flicking through the entire deck looking for a specific card, and I would reset it by mistake or even skip multiple cards. It's just, I'm surprised to say this, but a little too responsive. Also, the pace of animations in these moments, they can drain a large chunk of that suspicion meter. Wouldn't call that though a big issue. You'll just notice that the control's not quite up to the task with a couple of the techniques. If you do lose then, you may be wondering what happens if I have no cash. Well, in those moments you may turn to the streets to raise money by deceiving the general public. Think hiding a queen for them to find as you play out your deceptive motions. Also then get caught, and yeah, that often leads to death. Here you actually awake in limbo for what is, for me, one of the most impactful moments of the game. Absolutely love this, and we can either cheat death or pay all funds to buy our way out. I always went for the cheat option, but there's actually options in here where you simply give up, and the game in these moments is going to warn you, but it will actually wipe your save file. When you return to the real world then, those around you blame your lack of consciousness on a seizure. The only other element then, the occasional sword fight, which is nothing more than mirroring inputs though. I still found them entertaining, and again I just want to say here, this isn't a case of simply overall copying inputs the game advises, rather it teaches you a technique. Now you need to remember that pattern and the strategy involved for the real table. So yeah, it's not as simple as it sounds. In fact, found it all exciting and rewarding. I have every intention now of heading back as well on a higher difficulty option. Graphically then, I really like what they went for. It delivers an image quality that would be reflective of a painting, and it leads to a huge amount of colour and variety in the locations. When we jump into cards as well, it's able to deliver what I would call almost a scratchy hand-drawn look, which makes highlighting the information we need easy. It's all accompanied by some really nice animations. It's all then as well particularly impressive on the OLED in handhelds. A sharp image though then complements the style, and very few complaints from me. Occasionally we do get a few strange animations here and there as we look to interact with objects. Also, I wish the map had the ability to zoom in and out. Otherwise though, really good stuff. Audio then, and there's no voice acting here to accompany the fantastic story, but the world has a stunning soundtrack to elevate its impact, and it really is something special. It seems they had a composer come on board, then they left it to an orchestra to interpret this writing, and I will say here it's absolutely paid off. It's often intense, it's dramatically changing alongside the story, it's near perfect recording quality. Yet, that all said, it's also weirdly incredibly relaxing at the same time. It's just in keeping with the time period as well, which I always appreciate. It's topped off then with some minor sound effects that do their part in bringing this world to life. Overall, Card Shark is absolutely unique, but like any good Devolver release, they found something that stands out. In the case of this one, I cannot name another game like it. The card play and cheating with minor minigames, I just found it fascinating, and then the story intriguing, and it's full of twists and turns. It just kept me hooked throughout. It is not perfect though, a few of the tricks they don't feel quite right. Some of the animations a little too extended when you're kind of, rushing to get something done. I'd even then go as far as saying some of the card play a little bit awkward, but it is a small percentage and it can't turn me away from this one's kind of hook. Throw in then some stunning visuals and audio, and this one, it's an absolute winner. A great 8 out of 10 from me today then, and I hope this is a concept they continue to evolve. It's addictive stuff, and I have every intention now of jumping back in for another playthrough. Will you be adding this one to the library then, or holding onto that cash? A shout out then to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.